Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 7, Episode 2 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 49 on our list, which is the tag team match between the team of Mike Quackenbush and Jigsaw against Team Fist of Grand Akuma and Icarus from the Never Kneel at the Altar of Conformity event held on July the 31st of 2009. Now, in the introduction for this season, I mentioned that a good chunk of these matches are going to contain wrestlers that were, had allegations against them in the speaking out movement. Mike Quackenbush and Icarus both being two of those individuals. So I completely understand, if any of the videos containing those two or the whole slew of other individuals, caught up in that CHIKARA, speaking out issues, if you choose not to watch this video or any of those videos containing those individuals. No hard feelings, but like I said in the introduction, we are going to go forth, talking about these matches. Now, this match is, I'm going to say, the first hidden gem on this list, and I know we just started this countdown, but why this one is so good is I have an incredible memory when it comes to pro wrestling, specifically independent pro wrestling, but when watching this one back, I couldn't remember the issue at hand or why this was basically a grudge match. But this match, watching it now 13 years later, it did such an incredible job in the, 10-ish minutes it lasted at completely bringing me back into this storyline and, giving me all of the elements, to catch me up just through the match itself, that I thought it did an incredible job. And this match, it felt so fresh. It felt so good watching it now. It is action-packed. It is a sprint. It carries this great self-contained story, and it really blew me away. I actually remember when this match originally happened. In the year 2009, I was doing a weekly, or not weekly, rather monthly, kind of like episodic, tape trading, bootleg DVD sort of, magazine type of thing. And this, match made the July 2009 issue of it. But like I said, aside from that, I really couldn't remember as to why. I just remember thinking that it was good, and so naturally, I rewatched it for this period. This was a special, fan appreciation night at the old Riverside building in Reading. CHIKARA, at this point wasn't really running that building anymore, so it was a nice little return there. That is one of the buildings that, was synonymous with a lot of that early CHIKARA. I had the pleasure of being able to attend one show there, while they were still running it, that I will always look back at fondly. They had crock pot hot dogs that you could buy at the concession stand. It was a really cool venue. Any of those kind of Legion Hall type areas, really hold a special place in the heart of, me as an independent wrestling fan. And Mike Quackenbush, at the time, it feels awkward to say this now, was really, revered, to almost like a god-like status in that building in Reading, being kind of the local indie legend from that area that started this promotion. And that really, shines through in this match. The crowd is 100% on his side. So I talk about, them doing a really good job at bringing you up to speed with the story here. Kudos to the commentary team for, filling me in as well. But basically, CHIKARA got a spotlight on the first ever Dragon Gate USA pay-per-view, which, if you've never seen that event, it is one of the best pay-per-views in wrestling history. It was condensed into a 2-hour format, and every match on it is incredible. And CHIKARA got this, traditional CHIKARA 8-man tag spotlight. In the early days of CHIKARA, they would run, an 8-man tag kind of all through the indie circuit. And it was really smart of Quack, one, to get, his students that working and travel experience, but doing it in a way where they're wrestling, people that they're familiar with, that they train with, that they can really, rehearse and choreograph that match and expose themselves, to new fan bases in new areas with the potential of, being able to be brought back, but also giving all of these areas exposure to his, newish CHIKARA feds. So it was a great idea. We'd see them basically in every independent imaginable. CZW and IWA Mid-South and PWG, IWS in Canada, basically any indie that was going in 2004, 2005, at one point it seemed like they had a CHIKARA offer multi-man tag. So 2009, was a little bit later. CHIKARA was really well established at that point. But basically, I feel like it was a bit of a Gabe Sapolsky nod to Barely Legal, right? The original ECW pay-per-view where there was the Michinoku Pro, offer six-man tag that stole the show and was one of the best matches in ECW history. You can check out my thoughts on that match if you go back a couple seasons ago for my ECW countdown. But so he basically, he gave 8 CHIKARA athletes this opportunity to have, an absolutely outstanding, match showing the CHIKARA style. And they actually, brought a little bit of story into it where Gran Akuma would turn on his CHIKARA brethren and join with Yamato and the Kamikaze USA stable that would be formed and would kind of be the main heel stable on those early Dragon Gate USA shows. So the story here is that, Akuma turned his back on CHIKARA. That was supposed to be CHIKARA's moment, and he made it all about himself. So Jigsaw and Mike Quackenbush are out for revenge, primarily Jigsaw, and it would actually lead into a singles feud between these two that would blow off kind of closer to the end of the season with a really good singles match between the two. But this match, they come out guns a-blazing, the Technicos rush the ring, and the fight is immediately on. We get a super hot opening, and like I said, this match is really action-packed, almost like in the Dragon Gate way, coincidentally enough, and it never really has a slowdown period, which I really liked, because even when they're going for heat, it's kind of kept brisk, and it keeps moving, and there's not, a lot of rest or downtime in it. So Mike Quackenbush, house of fire at the start of this match. He's flying all over the place and hitting strikes and diving, to the floor off of guys' backs. And really, really early on, he hits Gran Akuma with the Quacken Driver 3, which is kind of like a leg capture, twisting Michinoku Driver thing. And he actually debuted that move on Gran Akuma, using it to beat him at a show that I was live at in Hellertown, Pennsylvania. So I love that he hit this move almost immediately because he knows that he's beaten Akuma with it before. And like I said, debuted the move on him. But it's so early on in the match that it's only good for 2. But again, it really establishes, this go for broke kind of pace that both of these teams are coming into, of wanting to just absolutely destroy each other right from the get-go. Mike Quackenbush, with a lot of the tag matches that he has, and you're going to see, some examples of that littered throughout the season, he is someone that would really, try to incorporate, the CHIKARA rule system that, he created, I shouldn't say created, borrowed from Lucha Libre, but he really tries to utilize those to full effect in his matches, finding clever ways, use those lucha tag rules, which if you're unfamiliar with them, basically rolling out to the floor is as good as a tag, and it allows your partner to legally come into the match. And another thing that Quack would do that I always loved, maybe some people would find it a little annoying, but he would be very vocal during his matches, and not, vocal in like a, kind of cheesy heel way or like a comedic approach. Like if you think of wrestlers like 2.0 that, kind of never shut up during their matches, but it's funny and it's great and it works for them. That's not with Quack. Quack, uses these vocal cues to kind of further along the story of the match. And for me, it really works. And there's a good spot early on where, he gets his back worn out. They get the heat on Quack. They attack his, historically, well-documented injured back. He had a lot of back problems, from like 2006-ish, 2007. And that's another thing too, a common theme that you're going to see for any Mike Quackenbush tag match after that period. That's generally how the heels get heat on him, by going to the bad back. But there's just a wonderful moment where they've been attacking the back, and kind of, he's unable to get the tag, and they're building a little bit to this hot tag. And Icarus, goes to whip Quack, into the corner post, again, weakening that back if he hits back first into the middle buckle. But instead, Quack banderas himself all the way out to the floor. But while he's doing it, he waves goodbye and says see ya. And it's just one of those little things that, maybe it could kind of be cheesy, but I thought it was really cool and it really worked. And of course, that allows Jig to get in for the hot tag. But, Fist immediately cuts him off. And that's kind of what I liked about it, because, Fist was sort of prepared. A lot of times when you get the hot tag, it's when the babyface, finally is able to overcome some odds and, knock down the heels to make that tag. And then you get the House of Fire babyface coming in off the hot tag. But here, the heels, they were prepared. They watched Quack, take himself out to the apron. So when Jig came in, Fist was able to very quickly double team him and keep the work going. And they work over the leg of Jigsaw and do a really good job with that. There's one point where Icarus, just, being a dastardly heel, he kind of sneak attacks Quack on the ring apron when Quack's waiting for a tag, but he hits him with a backcracker on the ring apron, which is just a crazy bump to throw out there in the middle of a match like that. But again, it hurts Quack's bad back, and it leads to this, again, really cool kind of different concept and really great visual where, Jigsaw is crawling to his corner for the tag because he needs out of there because of his bad leg. But, in order to tag Quack, Quack is like crawling from the floor, back to his own corner. And it's basically this, catch-22 where either way, even if they make this tag, neither man is, better off than the other. And I thought that was kind of cool and not something that you see a lot with tag team wrestling. Like I said, this match is crazy though. So you eventually get to this big moment where Quack's able to sneak in and palm strike Icarus, kind of paying him back for that cheap shot earlier. Not the most babyface tactic for Quack, but again, fighting fire with fire. And the match breaks down. We have all four guys. It's complete chaos. There's big moves all about. There's, a great, series of near falls. Again, they really kind of go for Quack's back, any fist offense that there is. They hit a big power slam on the back and a power bomb, where Akuma power bombs Icarus onto a senton, but onto Quack's back. And it's all really, really great. Again, Quack, with those vocal cues, there's a moment where Akuma grabs a dragon sleeper on Jigsaw, and Quack just kind of like sees it and goes, good idea. And then like comes in, grabs his own dragon sleeper on Akuma, but then in just another really great little nod to the story at hand, he actually lifts him up out of the dragon sleeper and hits him with the Galleria, which is Yamato's finishing move. Yamato kind of being, in that Kamikaze USA thing and forming that partnership with Grand Akuma. It was really, really cool. It only gets him a 2 because, Quack is the master of 1,000 holds, but maybe he hasn't quite mastered that one, so, Akuma's able to kick out of it. And the actual finish here is really brilliant too, because it's a super cheap finish, but it totally works for the match and the story that they're trying to convey. So, Icarus hits a big spine buster on the bad back of Quack. Quack is PO'd, he's fighting spirits out of it. He kicks out at one very defiantly. Icarus goes for another spine buster, but the ref is distracted. Instead of hitting the spine buster, he brings him down into a low blow, and then hits the Blu-ray, which is his Death Valley driver, into the corner buckles. Again, bad back, into the corner buckles, and it's enough for 3. And Fist, they kind of cheat their way. They steal this one, but it doesn't sully the match. It totally fits with the story that they were trying to tell. And like I said, this one really took me by surprise. I rewatched it, I kind of remembered it being good, but it really told such a good, story in one small package. And that's the thing with a lot of these CHIKARA matches. They have this overarching storyline that carries from year to year to year, very much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we have now. But this, and so sometimes when you watch, some of these matches, you have to remember all of the context to really get all of the little elements in the match. But here, you didn't need it. They told you right from the get-go, here's the story, here's what you need to watch out for, and they were able to deliver on it expertly. This is a super fun tag team match between 4 of the most recognizable CHIKARA figures at the time. It's a great little hidden gem in a great building with a great crowd, and an absolutely fantastic use of your time to watch. Of course, like any of these CHIKARA matches, you can watch it on independentwrestling.tv. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.